see an accident, and there's all sorts of ambulance and fire personnel there, and you find out later that there was a fatality, and you think that you were having a bad day. What about that person and their family? So it's really about perspective. And when Bill asked me to come in here today, and I was here in January, how many of you, just out of curiosity, in January were here when I talked about the 6 human needs? A couple. Good. Okay. So then, for those of you who don't know me, I came in and shared a few months ago about the 6 human needs. And these are needs that we all need in our everyday life, whether we recognize or realize we need these or have these in our everyday life. The bottom line is that they're there. I'm not here to do a canned presentation, a reliving of that presentation, although I do believe repetition is a great thing and we can never hear enough stuff. Because if you're the person that says, I graduated from school, I got a degree 20, 30 years ago, and you feel like that was the end of your learning or education, you're in the wrong room today. Because for me, it's about every day what can we learn. And for me, people are always looking at me saying, well, I learned so much from you today, or you helped me reinforce certain things. But at the same time, I learned so much from each and every one of you, because whether it's a private one-on-one conversation before or after the meeting, whether it's watching a person having a breakthrough, you don't get to be the mentor to millions or get called the mentor to millions if you've only worked with a few dozen people. I have been very blessed. And I was a guy that, it wasn't all that long ago, that I was in corporate America, making suggestions about how they can improve morale, sales, increase revenue, how you could do this and do that, to gain this or that. And they laugh at me or say, you know what, when you're running the company, then we'll listen to your thoughts, but focus on what you're doing, what you're hired to do, which is go sell. So I'm like, okay. The irony is that years later, after I've been featured on news, I've written books and CDs, and I worked with millions of people, some of these same companies now are contacting me and saying, remember that offer you made years ago when you worked for us about coming in? I was like, yeah, you know, well now my fees have gone up a little bit. You did it free, now you're going to pay. But the thing is that, as Bill stated earlier, the reason why I do this is if I have an opportunity in my schedule, and I'm not traveling somewhere around the world, where I can pour into the lives of others, whether it's a small group like this, or I'm speaking at a 15,000 person convention, my thing is, I believe that sometimes we get paid today, sometimes we get paid tomorrow, but in life we always get paid, if that makes sense to you. I'm getting paid here right now, and I'm not talking this kind of payment. I'm getting paid the ultimate payment because I get to be a blessing. I'm going to share some things with you today that some of you may have heard before, maybe you haven't. Maybe you haven't heard it said in that specific way. I'm a guy who's very much like all of you, so just get this out of the way. You don't know my bio, some of you do. I grew up in upstate New York, so yes, I'm a Yankee. Upstate New York, but very much apple orchards, farmland, 2 hours north of the city, right on the Connecticut border, beautiful. Very much similar to Middle Tennessee, except we get a little bit more snow than we do down here. Then I worked for some great companies growing up. My mom and dad were blue-collar workers. Mom was a school lunch lady, dad was a painter. But they instilled in me some things that were very important from an early age. Work ethic, morals, values, and integrity. Things that nowadays we look at both our youth and as well as our older people in the workforce. Do they really truly have that? And I'm not asking for an answer on that. But they instilled certain things in me that till this day I can only give credit to my parents for it. But I went to work for a lot of corporate Americans, from Clement, who founded Combined Life Insurance. This is a guy who's written books and used to hang out with people such as Napoleon Hill, Stephen Covey, Carnegie, Norman Vincent Peale, and the list goes on and on. That was his rat pack, per se. And this is a man who poured into me and mentored me while he was 90 and I was 20. He lived to be 100. And look him up, W. Clement Stone. You'll see this man wasn't just a phenomenal businessman, but he was a philanthropist. He gave back in every sense of the word. Having those mentors or people speaking into my life from an early age were very important, because throughout my years in corporate America, you know, K Jewelers, W. Clement Stone, working for recruiting firms, then I got hired from coming to an event just like, in a way, this event is. I went to an event in D.C. where they said, Tony Robbins is speaking, why don't you come? I go, Tony who? They said, Tony Robbins, you know, the guy that does those infomercials at 2 o'clock in the morning. He's worked with Mother Teresa, the Princess Diana, Gorbachev, Mandela, Michael Jordan, Andre Agassi, and all these people are already successful, and yet they still hired Tony to work with them. I'm like, listen, if I'm up at 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm not watching infomercials. I'm just sorry, I don't know who the guy is. But I went. Now, my coworkers all wanted to sit in the $200 seats, what I call the nosebleed seats or the general admission seats. And I said, well, what's that front row VIP section that you have on the form? And they said, well, that's $700. I'm like, anything different? Because, I mean, does he look any different up close versus down? Because he's 6'7". At the time, he was 10 years older than me. Long story short, I wanted to be there in that front row because, as I shared with my coworkers at the time, if you've ever been to a sporting event, a concert, Broadway show, you all know that it's a different experience sitting up front in the orchestra seats, the box seats, front row, versus sitting in the back or that nosebleed section at the very last row. Best decision I ever made, and I'll talk about decisions in a little bit. I had no idea that after I invested in myself that day, that $700, that at the end of an 8-hour day watching this guy literally perform and share from the stage, he would come off the stage at the end of his 10 hours and shake hands to everybody in the front row. When he got to me, he asked me a couple of simple questions. What is your name? What do you do? And he asked me if I was happy. Well, at the time, I was pushing 30. I was making $750,000 a year, which I guess for a lot of people, that's good income. And I was doing it legally. You know, in corporate America, I was earning a ton of money legally. But I was a little bit overweight. I was tired a lot. I wasn't in a loving, giving, passionate relationship. I felt like the people that were around me were not really truly friends. It was like as long as the money was there and I had fame, sex, success, and fortune, they would be there too. Well, when he asked me a question, I could answer the questions, who are you, what's your name, and what do you do? When he got to the third question, which was, are you happy? Well, I just spent 10 hours with this guy. He's considered by me to be like the guru of motivation, personal development, what have you. Well, I look at Tony Robbins and I, looking at my own life, and I responded to him by saying, I make $750,000 a year. Well, let me share something with you. When you're talking to a professional coach, speaker, mentor, they're going to hold you accountable. They're going to hold you to a higher standard. That's what we do. So he could have just easily said, okay, next, and move on to the next person. Instead, he nailed it. And what I mean by that is he said, that's not what I asked. He said success, true success, without fulfillment, is failure. And he poked me in the chest when he said failure. At that moment, I wanted a refund. I wanted to punch him in the face. I wanted apology. But then he immediately said to me, can you give me your business card? And I was thinking, oh no, I've really done it. Tony Robbins, the king of infomercials, personal development, wants my business card. Why? Because he wants to put me as the before guy on one of his infomercials. But instead, no, he hired me right there on the spot. And the reason why he hired me was he said, because I see your potential. He goes, I don't even know if you fully see your potential. But he goes, that's one of my gifts. I'm able to see potential in people. And little did I know, back then, that I know now, is that one of my gifts, back in corporate America, early on when I was 20, the reason why I had so much success in corporate America, in people's lives, is I understand what makes people do what they do. I know how to identify them, fall into certain categories and patterns. They have different personalities, they come from different places. But being able to recruit, train, and develop people, to bring out the best in people, to see the good in everyone, even when everybody else has written them off, that truly is a gift. That's a blessing. And I believe that we all have that inside of us, but most of us kind of just disregard it. Well, when Tony hired me, I became his top trainer, and I went on to travel the world and work with millions of people. Started my own training and seminar company in 0203. My family and I moved here 5 years ago from San Diego, Ohio, because that's where we had corporate set up. But we wanted to be closer to our families, and we wanted to raise our children in the best possible environment. And we couldn't think of a better place than Middle Tennessee. The 4 beautiful seasons, family atmosphere, the Bible Belt, we take it a step further, the belt buckle of the Bible Belt, was very similar in alignment with my goals, values, and integrity, and my faith. Being a Christian in California was, I'm not going to lie to you, it was a struggle sometimes.
Amen.
Because being a Christian in California, and go ask Kirk Cameron if you don't know what I'm talking about. There are people who specifically said to me, I know you're a Christian, therefore I will not hire you. If you get up on stage and mention the words God, Jesus, Nativity, Santa, Christmas, any of those words, you will be sued, you will be fined, you will have your mic turned off, and you will be removed from the stage. So now you have to make a decision, where if I don't say those words, am I denying Christ? But then they'll just bring in some clone puppet to do what they want. I believe I'm supposed to share a message with those people. can I get in there and still, without manipulating or lying, still share a message that everybody in that audience is going to know very quickly where I'm at in my faith, where I'm at in my walk. And absolutely, you stay true to who you are. And it reminds me of a story I want to share with you a quick story about. There's a gentleman and he left the town. If you've heard this story before, just keep it to yourself. But the gentleman left this town, and he leaves in his car, he pulls away, he gets out on the road, gets far, far away from the town, and he's out on the country road, and he pulls into a gas station. As he pulls into the gas station, the attendant comes running out, and he comes up to him, and he says, sir, want me to wipe your windshield, get you a full tank of gas? Yes, yes. He goes, great. And he goes, the driver of the car says, what type of town is this? And the gas station attendant turned around and said, well, what type of town did you come from? And the guy in the car said, well, the type of town that they came from was a town where people really didn't support each other. They were all about themselves. They focused on what they could get and what, how people could help them, and not how they could help others. They were more selfish and greedy and more egocentric than selfless and giving and compassion. I guess if you really had to summarize, I guess it came from a pretty lonely, nasty, selfish town. So the gas station attendant said, well, that's the type of town this is. So the guy got in his car, drove away. A few minutes later, another guy comes up that same road from that same exact town, pulls into the gas station. Gas station runs out and says, hi, how are you doing today? Can I get your windshield and also fill you up? Yep, go ahead. Driver of this car says, what type of town is this? Gas station attendant turns around and says, what type of town did you come from? And he goes, well, the town I came from was an amazing town. A beautiful town where people would do anything for anyone. They would put everyone else's needs before their own. They would come together as a community. It was always faith first, family, and then everything else after that. It was about, what can I do for you, not what you can do for me. It's an amazing town that was filled with love and compassion and truth and joy. I guess if you had to summarize it, it's just a beautiful, amazing town. And the attendant said, well, that's what type of town this is. The guy got in his car and drove back away. The reason I shared that story with you is because I'm about to ask you a question. You don't have to answer it out loud. The question I'm going to ask you all is, what type of town are you from? Because we all know where we came from, and we all know where we are right now. What type of town are you from? When you think of Middle Tennessee or wherever you grew up, whether it's a smaller town in Tennessee, you eventually ended up here, to you grew up in another state, a different country, whatever that might be, think about, without answering out loud, what would you have said if that question was posed to you? What type of town are you from? Where did you come from? What's the good, bad, and ugly per se? Where would your focus be? Because a lot of this comes down to our beliefs. A belief is a feeling of certainty, and it's a feeling of absolute certainty we hold true for us and us alone. If your belief right now is that it's a beautiful day outside, or I'm going to have success in today, well, guess what? Chances are, more than likely, that belief will happen. If you look at it as, oh great, it's a sunny day outside. It might as well be snowing. Everyone's going to be out playing hooky. No one's going to want to meet me for stuff. Everyone's going to be on the golf course, they're out doing yard work. Oh man. And then it's already noon. I got to go to this meeting. By the time this thing gets out and I get back to the office, the day is already over. Because let's face it, it's Middle Tennessee. Everybody goes to beach early, 3, 4 o'clock. You see where I'm going? The point is that if that's your belief, then guess what you're going to create for yourself. And I see that in life every single day. And it's our perceptions, it's our beliefs, it's our fears. Belief is a feeling of certainty for us and us alone. If you were a woman in the room who said that men are blank, I'm not going to ask you to verbally say out loud what that blank is. Just like for the guys in the room, if I say women are blank. Here's what's interesting about that. What you fill in that blank with is a belief. A belief that rather than jump on that person for saying that, even if it's a harsh, negative statement, unfortunately, calling it what it is, in that person's mind, in their belief system, that's what they believe for them, and that's what they believe for them. Henry Ford said, if you believe you're right, or you believe you're not, if you're right or you're wrong, you're right, because it doesn't matter, it's what your belief is. And if that's what your beliefs are, then you've got to look at, okay, what needs to change? How do I change some of my beliefs? And some of us have some core beliefs that need some changing. Others, we have beliefs that are called local beliefs, that are either going to limit us or they're going to empower ask you to yell out three, let's get see if we can come up with 3 or so beliefs that you have regarding, say, business, your industry, sales in general, money, or just Middle Tennessee. It doesn't have to be any particular one, but those are just some examples. Right now, without overanalyzing the question, if I asked you, give me your belief, not what your neighbor's belief is, not what your company or your church tells you to say, or because you're in this room and surrounded by peers, what is your honest belief right now about sales, business, your industry, the economy, Middle Tennessee, money, your family, your faith? It doesn't matter what it is, but I want to hear someone just tell me what their belief is on something. Competitive? Okay. Anybody else? Belief on any of those topics? Again, there's no right or wrong answers here. Amen. You can ask you a question. Are you working? Are you in school? Or?
Yeah, I got a social water company.
Awesome. You did perfect for this. So, what is the belief that you have? Because I'm going to guess, I hope I'm not wrong on this one. You're probably close to being the youngest person or second youngest in the room, right? So, with that being said, isn't it true? Young people today, man, spoiled brats, lazy, entitlement issues. I'm sorry, I'm not talking about you, okay? Or you. But have you heard that from anybody? Young people today. And we've also, maybe we've even been some of those people that have thought those things, said those things. But when we say those things, that becomes a global belief. Now we've categorized, stereotyped, and thrown that person into that mix. How would you categorize yourself? If you had to share with us your belief about who you are as a person, work ethic, integrity, morals, values, education, anything as a person. If you could just summarize it in a couple of words, what would you say your beliefs are about you?
I guess I'd say I'm pretty hard working. I got it. I work at Starbucks, and essentially it's a very high school. It's pretty tough stuff.
Awesome. All right. So see, he's working. Even if he's a man of a few words there, the fact is he's talking more about himself in those few short words than what some people can talk about themselves all day about. I still haven't clue what they're all about. Or I do, but in your case, hardworking, you've got some goals, and I know you weren't expecting to walk in here today, you got someone calling you and you sharing your heart, so thank you for that. But the thing is this, is that we all have these beliefs. Anyone else, 1 or 2 more beliefs about any of those areas?
Generous.
Generous.
Just
community. Okay.
Just generous.
Now, I can easily turn this into, which I'm not, and say, okay, let's talk about a belief you have about our government or our president. You can get very ugly here very quickly. Or you can just split. My point is that also can happen in a lot of other areas. Parenting. What are your beliefs about relationships? Parenting. Money. We're all hardwired. In many cases, we're hardwired to have that money blueprint or blueprint or value systems. We have values that go all the way back to our childhood up to the point we're at today, based upon our life experiences, what and who has spoken into our life, what we've repelled, what we've attracted, and we're exactly where we're supposed to be. The point is that, are you happy with where you are, or do you want things to be better? Because I meet people every day that aren't happy unless they're unhappy. I said earlier to the group, I call them emotional vampires. They're not happy unless they walk into this room, they suck the life out of each and every one of us, and the electricity goes out. That's those types of people. Then there's other people that they walk into a room like this, and the room brightens, it gets full. People have said to me, you're high energy, you're hyper, you're over the top. You must have had a bunch of coffee or caffeine before you came in here. It's like, no, as a matter of fact, all I've been drinking is water. And I haven't eaten yet, so I don't know what's going on. So this is natural. It's because how I choose to be and how I've conditioned myself to be. And it's natural and it's genuine. At the same time, for those same people might say hyper, over the top, and whatever. Others might call you passionate. Others might say I'm enthusiastic. By the way, enthusiastic comes from the Greek word entheos, which means godlike. Well, if I could be in his image and be, kind of compared to God, I guess that's a good comparison. But at the same time, just like when I worked with Tony Robbins, people said, you and Tony Robbins fit the same personality assessment. We've all taken those assessments. You two are identical, other than he's a foot taller and 10 years older than you and has a few $1 million more than you. And people used to call me everything from Mini-Me to Tony Jr. But here's the thing. As much as I know that that was conditioned or meant as a compliment, I would look people straight in the eye and go, thank you. But there's only one Tony Robbins, and I'm not him. I'm the first Keith Froehling. I'm going to be the best Keith that I can be. Just like none of us in this room are perfect, right? unless you want to consider we're all perfect in our imperfections, then yes, we are perfect. But there's only one perfect person who's ever walked this earth, and it's none of us. And if I can strive to be as close to that as possible, then I think I strive to be. I've had people even here locally tell me, my expectations are too high, my standards are too high. I'm like, compared to who? Compared to what? And they're like, well, you're new to this area. I was like, I've lived here now 5 years, and I heard that both 1 year, 5 years ago, as well as recently. And they're like, but you know what? We do things a little bit differently here, you know. I'm like, listen, you can label me a left coaster, you can label me a Yankee, but I really don't fit the mold of either one of those because I'm probably just as much, if not more, country, Christian, and family-oriented than all of you who were born and raised here. That's just who I am. But we put labels and stereotypes on people from those types of things. And people have said to me, well, don't worry, you haven't been here long enough. Give it time. Nashville will rub off on you. You might need responses. Maybe I'll rub off on Nashville. Right? And our beliefs are so important because the quality of our life, every one of us, the quality of our lives is based upon the quality of our communication. Hear me on that. The quality of our lives are based upon the quality of our communication, both internally and externally, with the outside world. So if you are one of those people that vocally says, life sucks, or today's a horrible day, or I'm just thinking it, it's communication. At the same time, if I said the opposite, it's a beautiful day, I'm so grateful to be alive, I'm so blessed. How I wake up, chances are that's how my day's going to be. No matter what life gives me, it gives me lemons, I'm going to make lemonade. You throw me a curveball, I'm going to knock it out of the park, or at least I'm going to go down swinging. This, what I'm talking about here, is what we don't recognize or realize we do, and maybe you do know, is that we self-talk up to 500 words a minute. I'll say that again. We as human beings, we self-talk up to 500 words a minute. And unfortunately, a lot of this self-talk is negative. It's, don't go to that meeting. No one will be there, it's a waste of your time. Or no one's going to buy from you anyway. Who are you kidding? Christian? You're not a Christian. Remember the last time you went to the gym? And then I'll take it away from this meeting. Remember, don't go to the gym, don't go work out. Who are you kidding? You're never going to get healthy. You're not going to make the right decisions. Remember the last time you went to the gym? You threw out your back, you injured your hip. Don't go play with your kids in the backyard, even though it's the right thing to do. Don't do that, because you'll make a fool of yourself. They'll laugh at you. You're not going to be like all your friends' parents, healthy and athletic and youthful. We create a self-talk in our head. And it can go back to the time when we were that 13-year-old boy, and we asked some girl to a dance, and she looked at us and said, no, thank you. Now, she could have just said simple, no, thank you, or she could have said to you, I don't date people with acne, two that are short, two that are whatever she filled in the blank with. And guess what? Now we're in our 30s, 40s, 50s plus. And we're afraid to go up and talk to people and ask them, because why? If they say no to us, they immediately take it personally. Why? Because of that 13-year-old girl 20, 30, 40 years ago that said no to us. Maybe no just means no for now. It doesn't mean no forever. Why are you hanging on to that stuff that someone said to you 20, 30, 40 years ago? And now, the concept of ask and you shall receive doesn't even happen because we don't even take what? The hardest step in life any of us will ever take is what step? The first step. Once you get yourself to take the first step, it's much easier to take steps 2, 3, 4, and so forth. But most of us in life never take the first step or that leap of faith. When I left that $750,000 job, you got to remember, this is a guy who I graduated high school and have some credits towards college. And most people said, if you don't have a college education, you'll never succeed and you'll never get the money. Well, I went out there and I did this, and I did it legally, morally value-based, and all that. When I had friends of mine who went through MBAs, PhDs, all these different master's degrees, and they were not even in fields that they loved or enjoyed, or they were, not even making anywhere near the money that they were told or thought they were going to make. The reason I share that with you is that when you look back at your life and go, what did you want to be when you grew up? And where are you at today? To who have been the people that have influenced you throughout your life? I really don't care if you've had the worst life in this room, the worst life in this community, or the worst life in this world. You can turn your life around and make something of it. And what I mean by that is, when you start communicating to yourself differently and changing that self-talk, that you are capable, you are worthy, you are deserving, God loves you, you are a beautiful creation created in His image. When you start talking to yourself that way, either externally and where others hear you, or you hear it, or you just say it internally. Let's face it, we drive down the road, we don't have to speak out loud, we just have to think it. And if you're one of those people who have those negative self-talks pop into your head, where you're creating self-doubt, negativity, low self-esteem, you're going to fall into that category. You're going to get exactly what did it think Carnegie said, not Carnegie. Whatever the mind of man can conceive and believe man can achieve, you know what I'm saying? Same thing. If you believe you can or you believe you can't, you're right. If you believe you're a loser, you're not going to ever have any type of success, then chances are that's what you're going to get. If you deem success as strictly how much money you have in the bank, and I'm going to tell you, I've worked with these filthy, stinking rich people. Many of them are some of the most broke people I've ever met. They got all the money in the bank, but their marriages, their health, their relationships spiritually are in the toilet. To me, it's all about being balanced, just like Tony said to me, success without fulfillment. The reason why I was in that room, even though I didn't fully understand, God brought me there. Just like God brought us from the West Coast to here, where people are saying, you're moving to Tennessee from La Jolla? People aren't going to pay you your $15,000 to $25,000 fees there, Keith. People aren't going to do this, people aren't going to do that. People all there are toothless and barefoot and all inbred. That's Kentucky where my wife's from. By the way, she's my cousin. The reality is that we have those stereotypes and labels. I grew up in New York. You can only imagine, I grew up a conservative Republican in upstate New York on farmland, where we're just a hop, skip, and a jump from the city of Long Island, where people think in New York it's automatically the city, and they forget there's an upstate. And then there's perceptions about living there, and then there's also perceptions about the West Coast. Well, I can only imagine what my parents said about me when I moved to the West Coast. That tree-hugging hippie drank the Kool-Aid, now he's going to go work for a motivational speaker, he's going to turn into one of those left coast freaks. And guess what? When I came back to see them, like, you really haven't changed. If anything, you've changed for the better. And now I come here, and in the heart of the Bible Belt, I got people going, you're not here to bring us that law of attraction secret stuff, are you? No. Are you here to plant a church? No. Then why are you here? Because I want to raise my family here. It's a market that I've heard people in my industry for years share. They're lost now. We don't go to Kentucky. We don't go to Tennessee, because that's kind of a big market. Most people for seminars go to Atlanta, Chicago, Orlando, Vegas, California, which is what they do. My thing is like really great. It's opportunity. Where most people would view it as challenges, failures, mistake, I view it as opportunity, possibility, and solution. Now I get to go there. These people haven't been poisoned or tainted from the world's, speakers. Whereas I'm living in the backyard, everybody and their brother lives in San Diego. Ken Blanchard, John Maxwell, Ken Blanchard, Chicken Soup, Deepak Chopra, Tony Robbins, and I can go on and on and on. It's like, how do you compete with that? Well, and I'll share with you about that in a minute. I'm getting ahead of myself. We all in this room, and I'll speak to the people in the room right now, but all of us in this room, we already know what to do in life. We know what to do in our health, in our relationships, in our families, in our finances, in our faith. The bottom line is we all know what to do. True? Yes or yes? That would be the audience participation. Yes. We already know what to do. But here's the question. Are we doing what we know? And I'm not asking to answer that one out loud. Most people, we all know what to do. We know what we should be putting in our bodies. We know what we should be doing as parents and spouses and leaders in the community, leaders in the church. We all know what to do, but we're not doing what we know for various reasons. As Christians, in our walk every day, what must we be doing differently? Because I believe, and you can agree or disagree with me, or agree to disagree, I believe that as Christians, especially when I was in California, I had people say, I waited in my ivory tower, big, tall corporate office as you pulled into my parking lot. And it's a good thing that you pulled up in a BMW. I'm like, why is that? They're like, because if you pulled up in some family American vehicle or something, I probably would have hired you. And I'm like, why? They're already judging me on who they wanted to work with based upon the car I drove. I'm like, well, what if I did drive a BMW and the car was in the shop that day? You would have assumed something and wouldn't have hired me? And then what if, and at the time, I was guilty that I drove a BMW, so when I got there, I got a good deal on it. Then I realized as I drove around, I was like, the BMW in California is like the state flower. Everybody's got one. It's everything. So I didn't feel so special. But it was a wake-up call, too. With these things that I'm sharing with you, people look at you as you have to fit a certain mold. I believe that we walk around as Christians with a target on our back. If you're like, get that target off, I don't want that target there. I want to be liked, I want to be popular, I want to fit in. Well then, go change your faith then. Or have no faith. Because my thing is that I'm very bold in my faith. I'm going to speak it. I'm going to live it. And that's the difference too. I'm going to speak it, but I'm also going to live it. I'm going to walk the walk and talk the talk. Because there's too many people, and I've worked with them in my industry especially, both the secular world as well as the faith-based community. There's a lot of people that will get up in front of audiences this size in the tens of thousands and tell you one thing, flash their family on the screen, sell you tens of thousands of dollars of their stuff, and really don't care about you because it's all about the buck. Or they leave you, and they're not even 5 minutes away. They're lying, cheating, and stealing, gambling, doing whatever they do. And I'm like, well, I'm confused. And that was a huge awakening for me because I'm like, these people have been given gifts. God has blessed them with these amazing gifts, and now they're using this platform to manipulate, deceive, and trick people. And that's when I realized that if you want to be outstanding in life, you have to stand out above the rest. You have to be willing to do whatever it takes. Even if it's that one extra thing that no one else is doing or no one's prepared. I realize my target's gotten even bigger in the last few years. It may have even have cost me some speaking engagements. Maybe some companies hiring me. Maybe people bringing me in. Maybe even some churches hiring me. Because they're like, well, this guy might be too extreme for us. Okay, whatever. But the thing is, I'm not going to change who I am. Because at my core, at my soul, I know I'm living my life on purpose. Years ago when I was in corporate America making a lot of money, I was a guy making a lot of money and supposedly had a lot of friends. But the minute that money ran out or I left corporate America, I realized who my true friends were. I realized that true wealth doesn't matter how much money you have in the bank, but it's about the family, it's about the relationships, it's about the conversations we have, not just God, but with everyone. And every decision we make in life is important because it's in those moments of decision that our destiny is shaped. Whether you realize this or not, every decision we make, if we fail to make a decision, even if you don't make a decision, you realize that's still making a decision, right? People, I didn't make a decision. Well, you chose not to make a decision, so that's a decision. Well, no, and you'll get people arguing with you. But it's in those moments of decision that our destinies are shaped. And what I mean by that is, if you make a decision, for example, think about the people who had every intention to be here today, but decided not to come. Or they decided, whether it's Keith Froehling speaking, it's a beautiful day, they wait to see the weather report, and I'm not trying to label, I'm just going to speak on what I know to be truth as a pattern. If people made a decision not to be here, not because they had a real good reason, they had to go to the hospital, something happened, something they got to take care of. But I watch people throughout my life that they'll wait up to the very last minute, to the point where they're almost flipping a coin to see, I'm going to weigh my options, see what my best offer is, and I'm going to go do that. Instead, I'm like, make a darn commitment and own it. And don't let anyone or anything change that commitment. Because if that is your word, and you're telling me your word is oak, then that oak's going to get knocked over in the first windstorm because it means nothing. And after a while, guess what? Others are going to start to see that. No matter what con artist or scam or how good of a deceiver you are, people are going to be able to see through that. And for me, I'm thinking, people made a decision not to be here, just like all of you made a decision to be here. You made sacrifices, you rearranged your schedules, you're here. And I believe that now, the decision by being here today, whether it's networking with other people in the room or hearing whatever message you're supposed to hear from me today through what God's sharing with me, your lives will never be the same again. You'll hear something you'll be able to implement immediately, split second. You might even see results right away. Others might take a little bit longer to put in things to effect. Maybe some of you want to get together and have coffee with me, or we can continue this conversation after today. Figure out where I can support you in your business, your life, your church, whatever that might look like. But the point is that it's in those moments that our life will never be the same. But here's what's also important to recognize. If we fail to make a decision in life, someone else will make those decisions for you. Or here's what happens to many people. Life just passes you by. You don't make no decisions. And next thing you know, you wake up one day and go, where did my life go? I'm in a convalescent care facility, or people are waiting on me, changing my diaper every day, I've outlived all my family and friends, or they're all still alive, but they don't even bother to come to visit me. To me, I meet people every day that live to be 90 plus years old. But they're miserable, they're unhappy, they have regret. I personally, if I were to not wake up tomorrow, I could say that I've had a truly wealthy life because of the quality of my life, but not by the quantity. Does that make sense? Too many times we weigh things about the quantity of our bank accounts, the quantity of toys we acquire, the quantity of whatever, the sales. To me, just like going to events like this, There's 30 people, let's say, in the room. You gotta be like, I gotta get all 30 cards, and then what you do, you're gonna follow up with everyone? No, most people won't even follow up with 5 or follow up with anyone. My thing is, instead of trying to have 30 conversations today, have 3 to 5, 5 to 7, quality conversations, and then follow up with those people. And if you do happen to gather everyone's card, don't spam them. Follow up with them and say, listen, we didn't get a chance to meet. I'd love to be able to talk to you. Or go talk to Lori and find out what she does. Lori's over there. Wait for a minute. Lori's back there. And talk to her about something that she does. Because some people make excuses, I don't have the time. Or I can't do it all myself. It's too much follow-up. Well then, I just pointed you in the direction of one person in the room, and whether you decide to move forward with Lori or not and what she does, that's okay, but it's starting the conversation. And when we engage in conversation with people and start that initial dialogue, that's how some of the most amazing things on this earth can be created, through an initial dialogue or conversation. The other thing I want you to understand is that every decision, even the non-decisions, every decision we make in life is linked or associated to 2 things. Avoiding pain or gaining pleasure. I'll repeat. Every decision we make as human beings, every day, every decision we make is either to avoid some type of pain or to gain some type of pleasure. Perfect example of that is I'll use the gym again. If someone associates going to the gym and working out is, I gotta go buy extra clothes, workout clothes, I gotta go early in the morning or late at night because of my schedule, I might see clients, friends, and neighbors there, people from the church, they're gonna see me sweating, they're gonna see me struggling, they're gonna see me not knowing how to use half of these machines. The last time I went, I threw my back out, or what if I've injured my back? What if I throw out my hip? What if I look stupid in front of people? What if I look big in those spandex? Or whatever things that go through your self-beliefs. If you associated so much pain, the cost of a membership, you know what it costs to be part of a gym? You've now associated so much pain to go into that gym. Guess what? You never what? You don't go. Or you go and then you never go back. But the person who associates pleasure to it in a different way. Now, it's not about vanity. It's about, I'm going to be healthier. I'm going to live longer. I'm going to fit into that outfit that I said I was going to fit into. I'm going to honor that commitment and word. I'm going to be able to walk my children down the aisle for their wedding, to watch my grandchildren and great-grandchildren being born, because I'm making a decision right now today to get healthy, to make myself and my life better. And when you make a decision, you may not notice the effects of it today or tomorrow or even 30 days from now. But you take that out over time, even the smallest of decisions, it has a ripple effect. And that's what I'm talking about. When you associate pleasure to those types of decisions, why do you think so many people say, and I hear it a lot, Keith, as much as I love to come hear you speak, as much as I love to buy one of your books or CDs or sign up for one of your classes, even though it's minimal, I just really don't have the time or I really don't have the money. And then later that night, later that week, somewhere shortly thereafter, I'll see their Facebook post or I'll hear them talking, but it'll probably be on Facebook. At the Predators game, took all my friends at $85 a clip, and we're spending, and then they just dropped probably $1,000. You didn't have money to come to my talent class conference or buy a $10 book or a $40 CD set or a $50 talent class. That would better your life in every possible way, but you're at a sporting event or a concert. People posting the other night, I'm at Cher, I'm watching who is Cher and Pat Benatar. And the tickets aren't cheap at these concerts. But people are associating why we've become an entertainment society. We're looking or trying to gain a feeling or emotion or to escape a feeling or emotion. So what do? We make decisions that will give us that. It breaks my heart when I see 16-year-old girls that at their sweet 16, and one, you have parents who go over the top, but then you see these over-the-top where, and I saw it in California, I don't know if it happens here, but moms that are taking their 16-year-old daughters on their sweet 16 and getting a mother-daughter breast augmentation. And I'm thinking, stop being that girl's friend and be a mother. First of all, her body fully isn't developing. You're taking her for who? You or for her? That's a birthday gift for your daughter? That's just stupid. And I see somebody who looks at your face and you're going, I can't believe it. Yeah, people do these things. My thing is, what are the decisions we're making every day? Because the decisions you make today do have impact. They have a rewarding consequence tied to them. We may not always get the outcome we desire, but guess what? If you make no decision, then you're never going to know, or you're going to be dealt with whatever is handed to you. The other thing on here that I wanted to share is about focus. Because once you understand that the pain-pleasure thing is there, now we've got to think, where do we spend most of our time focused? What you focus on in life, you feel. What you focus on, you move towards. Your focus becomes your reality. Anybody here follows like racing or NASCAR? No? Okay, I believe it. Okay. But here's the thing. Even if you don't follow NASCAR, one of the first things I'll tell you if you get in a race car and take it around a track is that if you happen to go into a skid and you're heading at 200 miles an hour up towards the wall, what do you think most people's vision or eyes are focused on as they're sliding up to the wall? Where's their eyes on the what? The wall. They tell you rule number one, don't focus on where you're going, focus on where you want to go. There's the wall, that's where the car's going, I want to go down the straightaway. What you'll do automatically without even thinking a lot of it is you'll correct and make the right adjustments and you'll get back on course, you get back on path, you get back on track. That's how we live. We're so busy focused on all the things we don't want, don't have, all the bad, negative, evil things of this world that we should be focused on again. Glass half empty, half full. Half full or full. Instead of what do we have? What are we grateful for? What should we be focused on? Because I can walk around the room right now and even through marketing, and I know people do this, and I'm just going to share with you, through Madison Avenue marketing execs, advertising execs, to pastors do it, politicians do it, the whole scope. Anybody who's out there, here's what happens. People are using some of these techniques to manipulate, create pain and pleasure, to get you to buy their product or service or attend their stuff. The other thing that people are doing is they're creating, from a focus standpoint, they're creating this focus of, if I get the person focused on they're lacking, they're insignificant, they're inadequate, or whatever that is, then I can get them through guilt or whatever pain factor. Instead of, what I want people to focus on is, what are you grateful for? What do you have? What is it that you're striving for in your life? So here's one thing we focus on. Larry was here with me today. Larry's been a very good friend in the 5 years that we've lived here. But, you know, when I talk about how we can learn stuff from others, I share a lot about the things that I know. But one of the things he talked about is focus. When you really think about focus, the word F-O-C-U-S, focus, what we focus on we get in life. If I focused on all this negative stuff right now, and if I wanted to, I could start focusing on sentences, words, body language, and before you knew it, you would start to feel tired, depressed, angry, and before you knew it, you're like, I don't know why. I liked everything up until that point that Keith said or did, but why do I feel that way? We do this every day in our lives and don't even realize we're doing this. We're selling people away from us, we're repelling people from us by our body language, our vocal qualities, and the words we use. At the same time, I want to attract people. I want to do it with integrity and authenticity and transparently. But one of the things Larry taught me is when you talk about the word focus, F-O-C-U-S, fixed on Christ, ultimate success. Fixed on Christ, ultimate success. If you make him your primary focus, what do you think is going to show up in your life? You're going to have some opportunities to make lemonade. None of us are promised perfection. None of us are promised a joyful, blissful life with no hiccups along the way. That's what's so great about this life on this earth. It's a blink of an eye. It's a journey. We're so focused on where we want to go. I want to be that millionaire. I want to achieve all my goals. I want to lose that 30 pounds. That's why instead of going to the gym and working out, we go for a lip, a tuck, a suck, or whatever those plastic surgeons do, and we are out of there in half an hour and we're healed and cured. No, you're not. Just like these magic diet stuff. You might lose the weight you want to lose, but you're going to gain it all back because you haven't developed the right muscle. Emotional and physical muscle that we need to be focused on. So, here's another one here in business. How many of you have ever focused on beating your competition? Because we've got competition, right? You want to beat your competition because that's either what the position you're put in, your employers, your peers, they're like, you got to beat the competition. We've created that culture and environment in sports, in our schools, in business. It's all about focused on beating the competition. You know what I focus on? Be the competition. I don't focus on what everyone else is doing. I will focus on what's the best that I can do. Now, can I learn from what other people are doing? What to do and what not to do? Take the best, leave the rest, you bet. But I'm not going to change who I am because I can't control what they're doing and what they're not doing. What I can control is the decisions I make, the actions I take, and again, who I am being and showing up as in this world every day. And when you focus on those things, and you focus on, again, that's what's great about companies, and I'm not promoting Mary Kay, because I don't want to take away from other people who do other companies, but Mary Kay, when they do their training is all about God first, family, and career. And that's how they build everything around their company with their training. It's amazing when you think about it. I was like, where did I hear or read that before? Last couple of things got to wrap up. Comfort zone. Every one of us in this room, whether you want to admit it or not, we're in some type of a comfort zone. When you get comfortable in your life, you get complacent. When you get complacent, you stop growing. When you stop growing, you die. Physically, emotionally, spiritually, and financially. They don't have to be in that order, guys. I see this every day. People get in a comfort zone. They get comfortable. They get complacent. They stop growing. Before you know it, I can go around and test everyone else in this room. You all have a pulse. You're physically alive right now. But I promise you there's at least one person in this room who's physically, emotionally, spiritually, or financially broken. Or dead. And that's not to scare any of you, or I'm not going to go around and test anyone, eye test and do that with the body language stuff. But the fact of the matter is that we are, and there's people outside this room that are living their life that way as well. So you ask yourself, then how do I get out of my comfort zone? How do I stop doing this? Well, we're so focused on our careers. We're so focused on our careers because we want to be successful, we want to provide for our families, give back to our community, tithe, do all that. We're so focused on our careers, but how do we apply that same focus, that same energy and strategy, but that same focus that I've been talking about in our daily walk with God? Think about it. We're so focused on our careers, making money, taking the trips, doing all that stuff, but how can you apply that same focus in our daily walk with God? Well, it's about energy and strategy. I talk about modeling, and it's not about dressing up and being a model, like a runway model. It's in our society, we call it social proof. If Moncrief can do it, then by golly, so can I. If they can have a perfect marriage, then so can we. If they can let go of that weight and get healthy, then so can I. When you have the belief that you can do it, that's one. But even with the highest level of belief, for example, there's no dandelions in my yard, there's no dandelions in my yard, there's no dandelions in my yard. Unless you get your butt out there and leave the garden, you're going to have dandelions, right? You got to take action. So what's the strategy? You can have the best belief. What I've learned over the years, this is what true modeling is you model the person's belief systems, what their attitude, their mindset is, where their faith is at. Then you model their strategy. There's a recipe for success. Once you know what those ingredients are and what those steps are, if you follow that, you'll have the same exact results. It's just the way it is. It's that simple. We have a tendency to overcomplicate stuff. So when you look at my business card, it says, live your life with absolute certainty. People go, how can you live your life with absolute certainty in such an uncertain world? It's like, exactly. We live in so much uncertainty right now, darkness and gloom and doom and evil, that guess what? I choose to live my life with certainty, even in uncertain times. One might call it certainty, you know what I call it? It says certainty on my business card, let's call it what it is, it's faith. It's walking in faith, walking in faith. Bible, people are asking me, well, Keith, how can I use these different things? You can buy books, you can buy CDs, you can spend all the time in the library, you can come to workshops, you can listen to people like me speak all day long. But if you don't do anything with the information, then nothing in your life is going to change. But when people say to me, oh, there's so many people out there. You got people like Kevin Trudeau going to prison because he told people lies to, but then I go to the library to look for diet stuff, and it's like, there's 20 different books. Which one do I buy? Which one do you feel led to? Which one is most right for you? What is the ultimate goal and accomplishment you want to achieve? But at the end of the day, and at the beginning of every day, you all know what this is, right? B-I-B-L-E. As far as I'm concerned, and this, people will say, Keith, you're stupid for saying this. So they say, what? It's like, you're taking business away from me. Like, no, I'm not. Because, for those same people that said to me, are you here to teach the secret of the law of attraction, that new concept? There's nothing new about the law of attraction. It's been around a very long time. But people have spun it, tweaked it, made it their own. B-I-B-L-E. Everything that's in this Bible, basic instruction before leaving Earth. If you heard it before, you've heard it, that's the first time, use it. There's your basic instruction before leaving Earth. Everything we need to know is in that book. But yet, what do? We go out there, we seek false idols, gods. We're looking outside of our own environment, community, and church, not having the conversations with Him. We've got to be more congruent, we have to be more transparent, we have to be more authentic. When I moved here, those are 3 words I heard a lot, more than I've ever heard in my entire life until I moved here. Congruent, authentic, transparent. And people are swearing that that's what they're all about. But here's the unfortunate, and please, I'm not studying in the South, because it's everywhere. But here's what we've got to recognize. Before we can go out there and change the world, we've got to change our own backyard. We've got to change ourselves. We've got to be congruent. If we say we're congruent, if we say we're transparent, if we say we're authentic, don't say it and then go do the opposite. Because then again, we become those Christians with our talk. Oh, see, just like those Christians. They tell you one thing and they're out there, blah, 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 blah. My thing is, guess what? I go out there every day and I show you love. It might be tough love, but I'm going to show you love. But I'm going to love people, because that's what Jesus would do. And then finally is mastery Most people in business and most people in sales will never take the time to master anything. They usually just